will Anthony Kim be a wild card again? Or is
Yeah.
he going to get picked up by a team?
The answer to both of those is yes. He's
Okay.
either going to be a wild card or picked up by a team. And I don't know if all of the Rippers have been signed yet. I don't know if all Smash have been signed yet. We'll hear when the deals are done is when we hear.
This is another episode of Fairway to Heaven, a LIV Golf podcast with your host, Jerry Foltz, and myself, Su-Ann Heng. Thank you once again for joining us for another painful round of the two of us just talking nonsense all the time throughout the entire episode. We're back in our respective homes. I'm in Singapore. Jerry, you're in Orlando. After, for you, about 2 weeks in Saudi. In Riyadh,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
a week from me. Of course, just coming off the promotions event, which was, as always, it delivers heat, it delivers drama. I was nervous. I remember, you know how we have to walk from where we get dropped off on the bus and then we walk past the first tee? I feel
Yeah.
like Thursday, I was nervous walking past the first tee. Friday, I was even more nervous than I was on Thursday. And then on Saturday, I was just like, oh my God, I don't want to
Yeah.
be the person teeing up right now because 36 holes on the final day. It was the windiest day out of all the days that they played competition. And so much was on the line. One spot. You really just can't fuck up. If you start with like a double bogey, you're just gonna be like, oh, I
You're
got I
done.
got 35
You're,
holes left.
yeah. No, you make a double and you're done. No, and the greens were firmer and faster than they progressively got that way through the week. It was a hell of a test, and you knew you had a 5% chance on Sunday. 20 guys for one spot, and 19 are going to leave disappointed. And you knew there were some pretty damn good players in there. And then the kid, Max Lee,
Max. Yeah.
Chipotle. I mean, the
Chipotle.
Westerners are going to call him Chipotle. That's all there is to it. I hope he gets used to it. I hope he loves it and embraces it. The Westerners are going to call him Chipotle. But Max Lee, he misses 15 and 16. He's got the lead, misses 15 and 16
Uh-huh.
greens with wedges. And then he gets up on 17, which was playing the hardest hole on the golf course for 2 straight weeks, and nearly jars it with a 7 iron.
Oh,
Nearly jars it, runs right over the
just
edge. That
I
was
know.
incredible.
I know. Hits it to
Incredible.
like 6 feet and makes that
Yeah.
just not an easy putt, right? I mean, in the
No, no.
moment, I believe I think it was a left to right putt. But yeah, I was following his group and he was just such a steady ship just
Yeah.
throughout the entire day. And by 15th, I had to think about interviews, right? Like what to ask the person. And by the 15th, I was like getting ready. And then he misses the green on 16th, makes a bogey, and I'm like,
Yeah.
and I think Taichi had birdied the 18th.
Yeah.
And who else was like pretty close?
Ollie Snyderhands
Ollie
was.
Schneiderjans. But I
Yeah.
think he kind of faded out by that point. But I was
Yeah.
just thinking to myself, oh, and Brendan Grace,
Yeah. Branden,
right?
that's right. How dare we
So at
forget?
that right. So at that point, I was like, oh shit, we're gonna go in a playoff, aren't we? We're just gonna go in a playoff. I'm like thinking he's got 17th to play. He's got to try and
Yeah.
drive it on the fairway on the 18th. And I'm like, oh, there's gonna be a playoff. And then he stiffs it on 17, as you said. And then 18, he nearly jars it too. Just
Yeah,
attacks
I
the
know.
pin.
Yeah. Well,
That
no
was
reason
pretty
not to at
cool.
that point. It was over as soon as he hit the fairway on 18. Two-shot lead. It
Yeah.
was over as soon as he hit the fairway. So why not? He only had a wedge in his hand. Go after it.
Yeah.
Not going to make work
Yeah.
some bogey. But still, the kid, I mean, he's 30 years old, right? He has been on and off the Asian tour. Now, the Asian tour has grown a lot in stature and quality of play and the amount of money they're playing for, and especially the international series. But that ain't the PGA Tour. That ain't the DP World Tour. That's still a level
No.
below it. More or less for now, anyway. And he's been on and off that tour. Hadn't even been able to keep his status out there. And then a few months ago, he finally finds something, and the
Hmm.
confidence sprouted like a damn chia pet, for crying out loud. And now the he's a world beater. He won his first event ever. in what,
Yeah.
10 years of playing professional golf. And that was an international series
Correct.
event. So that was an incredible field. And then
Yep.
he wins this against a bunch of guys who were desperate to try and get that spot. And
I
it
know
was
that event
impressive.
he won was in Thailand. Yeah, it was the international
Yeah.
series in Thailand where he beat Peter Uline by one.
Yeah.
A pretty strong field, like you said, and it's just such a great story, and you know he's going to be the first Taiwanese um on the league. He's going to be flying that flag nice and high. Golf is a huge game in Taiwan. Yeah, you know Yanni, who
Yeah.
was um the women's
Nuts.
world number one for a
Yeah.
while. Uh,
Yeah.
it just boomed, right? In
Yeah.
Taiwan. So I'm sure everyone's going to be really excited to watch him compete with the best in the world. And when I spoke to him after,
In the interview?
he was
Uh,
definitely nervous. He was
Oh
like,
God, yeah.
he was shaking. You can physically kind of see him shaking a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, is this
You're
really
intimidating,
happening?
Sue-Ann. You're
No,
intimidating.
I'm not.
No. Well, the
I'm
poor kid
not.
doesn't have any practice at winter speeches. He has one practice in 10 years, and English is not his first language. So
I know.
I thought you did an amazing job. And those who know TV, especially the lady on the other side of the house right now, Karen, said you did a great job with that and got what the most you could out of a very nervous young man who's not that comfortable speaking English as his first language. So that was awesome. And he'll open up a whole lot more during the season because everybody's going to
Yeah.
embrace the guy.
And
Everybody
he's
is.
so sweet, you know. I mean, because
Yeah.
in between, I was speaking to him in Mandarin, and he was really shocked that I could speak Mandarin. And I said, "Don't get too excited; it's not that great, but I can get by. I can communicate with you."
So it's like
Um,
your English.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a little worse than my English. Not that it could be any worse
Impossible.
than my English. I know,
Impossible.
I know, I know. How did I get this job? But
I don't know.
yeah, he just seemed like just the time that I spent with him, you know, on that 18 holes that I followed him, he's very stoic. You know,
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know if that's going to change when he's in front of some of the best players in the world. Um,
Rom and Bryson and DJ and Brooks and
Phil.
Cam and Phil and on down the line. Yeah. Yeah.
Bubba. Yeah, it's just I mean we got list and list, right? I'm sure he's gonna be, you know, like Don pointed out on the broadcast. I don't think he's just gonna sit back and chill, right? He's probably gonna take a few weeks off, maybe enjoy the holidays, and he's gonna go right back into it, practice and get himself ready. I mean, that golden ticket is life changing. It literally
Oh,
is
yes.
life changing.
For someone
Especially for
like
someone like
him, it
him.
is
Exactly.
exactly completely life-changing, career-changing. His odds of finishing in the top 24 next season and staying out there are pretty damn slim when you look at
Hmm.
resumes and the players we have out there. But he's got that shot. And if he can play the way he did in Thailand and also last week in Riyadh, he will have a really good chance of finishing in the top 24.
I mean, a classic case, right? We like to call it the Cinderella story. It was Scott Vincent
Hmm.
for the first two seasons. I mean, he got in our very first event in 2022 through the International Series, having won the week before in England,
And
got
leading the money
in,
list. Yeah.
yeah, and he was leading the rankings, and then just kind of played his way onto the league, and
Yeah.
then kept his top 24. And then
Yeah.
obviously in 2023, as we saw a wonderful finish in Jeddah, that
Yeah.
required multiple things to happen simultaneously, but he fucking played great. He had
Yeah.
to play great on that Sunday in Jeddah, and he did.
Yep.
And so there
Yeah.
is a possibility of retaining that spot on the league, as long as you come in top 24. Now that's a huge task, um,
Right.
but it's not impossible.
Just so if the people, if you happen not to watch, you're amongst the majority, I'm sure, given our broadcast hours and especially here in the States. But he's only guaranteed wild card status. He's not guaranteed of being on a team. So he'll be one of
Right.
the two wild cards. But he can get picked up by a team. And obviously, with the Asian descent, you would have thought it would have been Kevin Na, but not the case. They've filled up their team. And I know you have some headlines to talk about that, but that's pretty cool for the Ironheads. They got it going on.
We don't really like talking too much about the financial incentive of being on live, but I certainly think it's something that we can't ignore. For someone who's played on the Asian Tour for 9, 10 years, it never really played on a much bigger stage than that.
Right.
You look at what John Catlin made in the
Yeah.
time that he played.
Yeah.
What, 5 events, 4 events? I
Yeah.
look at what Ben Campbell made, right?
Yeah. He's going to make $1.5 million to $2 million with, I mean, unless he finishes DFL every single event. Yeah,
Right.
but no, he's going to make $1.5 million, $2 million, and that's finishing 50th or 48th or something. So yeah, that's life changing right there.
Not to mention, he's probably going to go play the international series too, right?
Right.
So
Right. Yeah.
extra
Yeah.
on top of that. So
Yeah.
really cool. So congrats to Max Lee. We can't wait. Welcome to the family. Congratulations. What an amazing performance. Let's talk about the top 10 who got through the live promotions for the international series spots. Everyone wanted the golden ticket. I know that, but
Right.
top 10 is still pretty good getting to play on the international series. We have Brendan Grace, Taichi Ko, Brad Caletta from Australia, Ollie Schneiderjans, Max Rotliff, Scott Vinson, David Horsey, Sutipat Pratityanchai, Jack
Very
Buchanan,
good.
and Sumin Lee, all coming in
Sutapat
top 10.
Pratityanchai. Yes, 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 yes.
Um,
And it's huge. That's really huge for Brett Coletta, the Australian,
mhm,
Max Rotleff, the German, Ollie Schneider-Jans, if he chooses to go over there and play. And I believe David Horsey, because they had, and Jack Buchanan, they had
yeah,
no status otherwise. The rest
yeah.
of those guys had some sort of status, probably going to get in most, if not all, of the events anyway. But
But
I think it was,
but last week improved some of their statuses on the
yeah,
international
it improved
series.
everybody's.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
the best category there is. But I was sitting next to Rahul Singh, who's the head of the International Series at the airport
Mhm.
lounge, the alcohol-free airport lounge in Riyadh, the last alcohol-free airport lounge I had to be in for the week. But he said, yeah, there were five guys that had
Yeah,
nothing that will, and I don't know if he was including Snyder Jans because I don't know if Ollie's going to travel over there to play it. I think
yeah,
he'd be well served to do it because I think
yeah.
he's starting to play the kind of golf he probably always should have. But he's been often injured ever since turning pro out of Georgia Tech, 31 years old. What do you have? Double hip surgery a couple of
Yeah,
years
double
ago
hip
at that
surgery.
age.
Yeah, and
Yeah, nuts.
right during COVID,
Yeah,
it hit him, and so he split his medical into two, I think two different seasons. And just I mean that guy, what was he? He was like 41 weeks world number one amateur,
yeah, yeah.
right?
41 weeks.
And
Yeah.
two-time All-American. Obviously an extremely talented young man. And speaking of him, how about let's just rewind to the Friday of the event.
Oh
How
my.
about the six
Yeah.
man playoff?
I know. I know. Well, he gets in on the number Thursday of the
Yeah.
first round, and then Friday he's in a 6-for-1 playoff and wins that. I mean, just he was nails, and then he plays great. I mean, he had to be so emotionally exhausted Sunday night, and it really did look like he just kind of ran out of emotional steam out on the course
Yeah.
on Saturday, excuse me.
100%. I think by the time we got to like the 12, you can kind of just
Yeah,
tell. I mean, and understandably so. I mean, it's
yeah,
a lot. It's a lot to play for. It's a lot to try and keep your focus. It's to me, I mean, it's tough even doing it for 9 holes under that much
yeah,
pressure, let alone
yeah,
36. So, but yeah, that was really fun to be a part of and watch
yeah.
that
And
show. I mean,
Gracie played
Gracie,
well, really,
yeah.
really well, and he's been playing well for the last few weeks. And
Hmm.
I mean, we knew there was the pathway for him to get back into live, which was explained to us by the league executives, that he was relegated, he had to go play the promotions event. But if there's an open spot on their team and they haven't signed anybody and they didn't, they weren't forced to take a promotee from the event we just covered, then they could re-sign him if they could make a business case to the league that he is that big an asset as opposed to going outside and getting somebody else. And I fully expect that appeal to be made if it's not been made already. And I fully expect the league to say, you know what? He's Branden Grace. He is a
Hmm.
world-class player. I certainly think he did what he needed to do to prove his value to Stinger GC and to the league, and I think he'll be back.
Yeah, 1,000%. I mean, second in rankings in year one, ninth in year two. And
Yeah.
then
Enough said.
obviously just did not have a great season this year. And
Right.
and look,
Enough said.
it happens. And if you only have 13 individual events, you can't go, you know what, I'm gonna try and do that event. I'm trying to go to that event to try and keep my card and da 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 da, you know?
Yeah.
They just don't have that option. They have 13 events to
No.
play really great, with a really strong field every single week on really top golf courses, not to mention I think we're more global than any other tour. So let's talk about the travel, right? And the toll it
Yeah.
takes, the jet lag and all that stuff. No, I mean, I'm sure they travel in comfort, but still, it's demanding on the body.
Yeah, I agree totally. It's he had an off year. The tough part about Live Golf League versus regular tour golf, if you will, is if you're playing poorly, you can't take a week off. We have
Mm.
13 regular season events and then a team playoff. You're expected to play all of those, regardless if your game's in top form or in the worst form of your life. And his was in pretty bad form for most of the year. So it's not, if you're playing tour golf, you can just take a week off or 2 weeks off.
Yeah.
If they're
Yeah.
elevated events, you just ask out, whatever. I don't even know what that process is on the PGA Tour now, but you
Yeah.
can't do that in Live. You're part of a
Yeah.
team. You have an obligation to be there and do your best, even if you don't have it. So yeah, he'll be back. I'm 99.9% sure of it, but not 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they should, right? They should.
Yeah.
They should have him back. By the way, after we just made that statement and conversation, we're gonna get so much shit on the X. People are gonna be
Why?
like, "Oh, because they're just playing 13 events a year and there's no cut and playing on it's Joker's golf course and this whole
Mm.
thing's an exhibition." And
Well, they
uh,
got
you
they got a
know,
little more fuel for that after last night's showdown too, don't they, for their
yes,
argument? Our
yes,
boys got
exactly.
fucking steamrolled in that.
I
Absolutely steamrolled in that.
When I woke up this morning, I was like, okay, I'm gonna get a VPN. I'm gonna try and watch it, stream it. And I was just doing my very best to try and look for it, and I couldn't find it. And then
Yeah.
we were on this text chain, and I'm just looking at it going, doesn't sound like it's worth me trying to look for it at this point. But tell me about it because I didn't get to watch it. You're a pretty good judge of events like that. You've watched so much golf in your life, so many
Here she is
matches in
saying,
your
I'm
entire
old
life.
again.
You
I
are
got
old. You
it.
do have a neck
Fuck
problem.
off. Yes.
But yeah, give me the lowdown and give me a download what happened during the showdown.
Well, first of all, the show was what it promised to be. It wasn't a bunch of gimmicks. I mean, the format was a little gimmicky, but it made sense. Three different matches, or four different matches within the 18 holes, four different points. And I liked it. It promised to be what the other version of that, the so-called the match is, which is a whole bunch of made for entertainment type shenanigans that go on during the show. There was none of that. You had Barkley and you had Faraday, and that's all the humor you could possibly need. Plus, you had Bubba on the course, which adds even a little more humor. And they wanted it to be
Trevor,
pure golf. And in essence, it was pure golf, except it was freezing ass cold. And they were playing in dark with a course that is not built with lights on it. All those lights were imported. So tees and greens were very well lit. Fairways, not that great. But that was kind of the only quirky thing to it. Scheffler did what Scheffler does. I mean, obviously, even Faraday said it on the broadcast. The world golf rankings don't really have any credence anymore, but nobody's going to dispute the fact that he is number one in the world by a
yeah.
landslide. He hit the ball like he always does. I mean, he just hit it absolutely pure. Not perfect, but pure. And then all of a sudden, Rory thought he was Cam Smith for the first 8 or 9 holes. He just made everything, absolutely everything. Bryson couldn't make it from a foot if it had a track to the hole. And Brooks played okay, but not great. He didn't really make anything either. A couple
Mm.
10-footers, and that was about it. So putting wins cups is the old saying. Ryder Cups, Solheim Cups, President's Cups. Putting wins these kind of matches designed after a cup. And they outputted them. They outplayed them. They just simply outplayed them.
I
Plain
know
and simple.
our boys got 0 points in all three
Oh,
matches,
well, they didn't
right?
even play, what, 5 of the holes?
I
Four
know,
or five
I
of the holes didn't
know.
even get played. It was shut out. It was shut out early in the singles, and they skipped 2 holes there, or the best ball. They lost after 4 holes, and then once they were guaranteed a half point in the singles, it was over. And I think that was the 16th hole. So I think they didn't play 4 of the holes.
From what I'm reading, though, I think the disappointment comes from, I think people were expecting more trash talk, bit more banter, a bit more chatter between the players, and getting behind the scenes into what are they saying, and I think from what I'm reading anyway, I didn't watch it, so I can't be a judge of that. But from what I'm reading, a lot of the comments are saying we're hoping for more banter. Where's the trash talk? There's not enough trash talk. Why are they not saying anything? Why is this person taking their earphones off? What's going on? Um, and I think that was the part that people really was looking forward to because this is the very first like live PGA, right?
Right.
And I think
PGA
they
Tour,
wanted
yeah.
a bit more like, "Wow," you know?
Yeah, but from who? I mean, if you're going to get trash talk, it's going to come from Bryson, Rory, or Brooks. Scheffler is not a trash talker at
Yeah,
all. It doesn't seem like anyway. He just kind of does his own thing out there and does it extremely well. Um, Bryce or Brooks and Bryson were getting thumped early, so you can't talk trash when you're getting your ass handed to you. And Rory was the one, who kind of spearheaded this to bring everybody together to show the golf world that, we those guys may represent different entities that the public and the legacy media has painted in a certain
hmm,
us versus them and all kinds of propaganda against live and what have you, and some of us with live, including myself, have pointed out some of the stuff about the PGA Tour that needed to be exposed as well.
yeah,
But nonetheless, there are two sides, and everybody wanted that. But Rory and those guys agreed to it to show the fans that we represent two entities that may not necessarily get along right now, but it's not the players who don't get along. We're all just pro golfers,
yeah,
and they wanted to show the world that they do get along, that there's no hate.
yeah.
Now, if we do get the rumored 12 on 12 Ryder Cup style match, if there is ever an agreement between PIF and the PGA Tour Enterprises, that will be some serious trash talk.
That would be amazing.
Yes.
But tell me if it's true or not. From what I'm reading, it took Rory a lot of work to get past the PGA Tour and get their blessings about doing this event.
I don't know that. I know they have to pay the PGA Tour anytime they appear anywhere because their so-called independent contractors are owned by the PGA Tour as well as their media rights. So they have to pay the PGA Tour. The organizers of this had the crypto or whoever put up all the
Yeah.
money had to pay the PGA Tour a release fee for a Tuesday night Vegas golf outing, which baffles me to this day. And one of the reasons LIV is in existence is because that rule has been in place forever. And guys
Hmm.
like Greg Norman and Nick Price and all those guys who were members of the PGA Tour couldn't go play without a release
Yeah.
internationally, even to support their home tours. So that's baffling to me.
Yeah.
But uh, I don't know. I don't know. I think Rory basically said, "Hey, we're going to do this whether you like it or not. So tell us how much it costs. There's your money. Somebody's going to give it to you, and we're going to go play this despite
Yeah.
you."
Yeah.
They don't need they. What are they going to do? Suspend Rory and Scotty Scheffler?
I
I
know,
doubt
right?
it.
I doubt it.
Yeah.
But that's why, I mean, you want to talk about the showdown. Look at Bryson and what he's done for the game of golf, right? He's the people's champion. People love him. He's created almost a huge cult of people
Yeah.
following him
Yeah.
because now he is able to do those things.
Right.
Um, because we're not restrictive the way perhaps the PGA Tour was when it
Not
came
we're not
to,
restrictive at all, actually.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. And when it comes to players' media rights and all that stuff. So look at what he's done now in turn to grow the game of golf, right? In his own language, in his own way.
I asked him a few weeks ago, well, a few tournaments ago, which was more than a few weeks ago now. That's 3 months ago. I said, "Is it profitable? What you're doing on YouTube and through your social media, is it profitable?" He goes, "It could be if I want it to be, but all I want it to be is to be able to pay the guys who are doing it with him, his team of people. I just want them to be
Yeah.
able to make a decent living from doing it." So, yeah, he could make a whole shit ton of money from that. And a lot of people do. I mean, a lot of whatever you call it, whatever influencers are. When I was
Yeah.
their age, influencers were the bartenders. They were putting us under the influence. Now we have influencers on social media trying to, sell you shit. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so he could, but he doesn't. It's not important to him. So that's what's
Yeah,
cool about it.
it is what's cool about him and so admirable. A couple of moments during the showdown that kind of were viral. Obviously, I think Bryson's sweater certainly made it around the X. Obviously, now
Yeah.
Bryson and Crushers are partnered with Reebok, who's getting
Reebok.
right back into golf, which is so cool. Just old school. And the promo stuff, if you've watched it already, Faulty, is pretty awesome. Just so
Yeah.
like it's got a Reebok touch to it, and just so like whoever did the marketing for them was really good. It was just so
Yeah.
brilliant the way they did it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the jacket, people were like, what? I mean, it must have been so cold. That was the other thing that people were saying. Why are they playing when it's so cold? The
Good
balls don't
question.
fly as the balls don't fly as far, right?
Hmm.
The players are probably could have enjoyed it a little bit more if it was just a little bit
Yeah.
warmer. I know like Rory and Scheffler had heaters in their carts. And obviously Bryson, you can tell it was freezing. He had hand warmers and a big puffy jacket. And Vegas that time of the year is just so cold.
Yeah, he had an Eskimo jacket on. We were there in February and it was
Yeah,
equally as cold. Yeah.
yeah, it was.
Yeah, I grew up there. It gets fucking cold at night. In the desert, it
Yeah.
always gets cold at night. Temperature changes so quickly. Yeah, I mean, Florida would have been a much better option for temperature and all that. There's this appeal that, you bring an event like that to Vegas and it's bigger, but the fact is there weren't many people out there watching because they can't be because the course doesn't hold them and it's extremely exclusive. So it's basically invited guests and some high rollers from the casinos,
And too
MGM and what
cold.
have you. Yeah, and so you can have it anywhere, and other than a couple of beauty shots of the skyline of the strip, it doesn't matter where it's at. Everybody just wanted to
Yeah.
see the guys play golf, so they could have played it somewhere
Yeah.
warmer. And because of the way Shadow Creek is, and I covered a number of LPGA events there. Karen's covered when the PGA Tour played there with I think it was Nine Bridges or something that during the COVID year they played there, and I think our guy Kokrak won. But anyway, there's all those golf carts out there. There's one path, and you can't drive off the path and go around them. It's because
Yeah.
all the paths are elevated, fairways are all down in a valley. It's just and everybody walking had to be on the path. So it was just a clusterfuck of traffic of golf carts,
Right.
and it was cold, and they had their heaters. Yeah, it didn't look like they were having a whole lot of fun.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough when I mean, look, it's almost probably better if they walked. It would have probably kept them a lot warmer than sitting in the cart
Yeah,
between shots, right?
yeah,
The second viral moment was Scotty Scheffler when he was presented with, was it $5 million worth of crypto?
yeah.
And he's like, along the lines, of not verbatim, but I don't know much about crypto, but this certainly is a motivation for me to go and get educated on it
Research
or
it.
something.
Yeah, yeah. Research it a little bit.
Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah.
cool. That's pretty cool.
To go along with
Um,
his whatever 40 something million he won this year.
yeah, I
Yeah.
know. I know. What a
Uh,
season he's had. And look, I think my take on it, even though I didn't get to watch it, I think what I took from it was I think it was a great day for golf, regardless
yeah.
of the ratings, regardless of the results. And I'm not saying it because our guys lost. I'm sure, people are like, yeah, you're just saying that because your guys lost. No, I think regardless of what would have happened, I would have said the same thing. I think it was a great day for golf. I think on that day, golf won and the fans won.
Mm,
Golf got what it needed, fans got what they wanted. And to me, that's a win, regardless the result.
yeah.
It was never meant to be an over competitive. I'm sure it was competitive, but not in a like it's a friendly competitive, right? Um, but it's what fans want. Fans want to see
Yeah.
those guys play together again.
Yeah.
Fans want to see the game unite. The game needs to unite. And I think that's what I took out of it. Even though I didn't get to watch
Yeah.
it, I felt that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, it had the entertainment. Obviously, not a lot of funny stuff on the course, but Bubba had his moments, even though his voice was a little slower than normal because I think it was so cold,
Yeah.
um, which is understandable. I've been in that position on course many times. You had Faraday, and he was his typical Faraday, and very engaged in the whole show. And then you had Charles Barkley, who just doesn't give a damn. I mean, he
Yeah.
literally can. He and Faraday can say things on TV that would get you and I fired in a heartbeat, and everybody just laughs. I mean, at one point,
Yeah.
he's kind of from the booth, he's asking Bryson and Brooks about,
Balls.
all the different guys, and he ends it with, "So, how are your balls, guys?" And I just wanted to write Brooks's response so bad, but they treated it pretty well. Yeah,
But then there's also a moment that I saw on Twitter where he called it as it is. I think he called it
yeah,
like, the Live PGA Tour, why they, doing this and etc. Why they fighting? Why is there war? And he's like, I don't care if I get fired. I want to be fired. I think he said something along those
yeah,
lines, right? I mean,
yeah,
so just I get a settlement or something. And like not very many people can get away with comments like that.
yeah, yeah,
It must be nice to be a baller, It's just
yeah, yeah,
called
yeah.
it as it is, but I
Well,
think people appreciated it though. I think people
yeah,
were like, yeah, you're saying what we're thinking as
right,
from a fan's perspective, right?
yeah, yeah,
Um, yeah, so
which was
good on
cool.
that. Congratulations to the commentary team. Really, I saw some clips of it and it was really awesome.
Well, yeah, and they had one of my good friends who I used to work with at Golf Channel with when he first broke into golf and is now just his career has been meteoric. He filled in for Ernie Johnson, who had a family emergency. He's done all the matches, and that's Brian Anderson, and he's phenomenal. He's so good and such a good dude. So, yeah,
That's so cool. Yeah.
yeah,
Hopefully we'll get to see more of matches like that where we bring and unite players from all tours, to
yeah.
get involved and to see the best players in the world compete again. This is for you, Foltzy. I'm going to tee you up and I'm going to let you go on your little run. Jay Monahan, in his end of year address to the tour, basically announced something along the lines of the PGA Tour is looking for a new CEO.
Yeah, I mean that seems a bit murky at the moment. Is he walking away? All I know is what I read and what I heard on PGA Tour radio talking about is he going to still keep a board seat on both boards, the PGA Tour and PGA Tour Enterprises. That seemed to be something that they said was a given, but I'm not sure. I honestly think this, so-called pending new CEO for LIV Golf, because I know Greg's contract ends at the end of August, which I am going to not take that day very well because he's the main reason I took the leap to take this job. Um, and yeah, but so now we're evidently having a new CEO come in with LIV. Hasn't been formally announced, and so it doesn't make it 100% true yet. And then a new CEO coming in for PJ Tour. Is this all part of the negotiation to get this truce agreement, this deal done between PIF and PJ Tour Enterprises? Could be. I don't know. I mean, reading the tea leaves, it looks like that.
And the DP World Tour too.
Yeah, they have a new CEO, right?
Yeah.
Exactly,
So
and so
all in
does the
one
RNA.
year. I
So does the
know.
RNA, and the PGA of America has an interim CEO and Kerry Haig, who everybody hopes gets the full-time gig, gets the nod for that. The
Yeah.
nod for that. So basically, the only two people who haven't changed is Mike Wan, CEO of the USGA, and Fred Ridley, head of Augusta National. And I don't see either one of those guys going anywhere anytime soon. So there's been a
Right.
whole turnover here to maybe, you know, get rid of the premise that we had from once dominant monopoly that couldn't be threatened to now two entities that haven't gotten along,
Hmm.
and maybe bring new thinking to the forefront to say, okay, Live's here to stay, PJ Tour's here to stay. How do we make it best for everybody? How does everybody benefit from this, including the fan, which
Yeah.
they always talk about, but none of the decisions seem to be made with them at the forefront.
Yeah, unfortunately so. But we'll sit and wait and see what happens, what unfolds. Man, so much happens within a year, doesn't it? Just, oh my
Oh man,
God. If you look
yeah.
back this time last year and like what has happened, and just take a look back of 2024, just
Yeah,
so much has happened. And it's going to keep happening, right? It's just going to
yeah,
keep evolving. The game is going to change. Um, People will come and go.
yeah.
And so it'll be interesting to see what happens in the next year. All right. So that's a wrap for our shotgun start. It
What?
wasn't quite a shotgun. It was like what was it? It was like a
That was a Pony
delayed.
Express.
It was no, it was like a delayed 18 hole. We're like 10 minutes behind target
That was
time.
seriously on the We both got penalized two shots for how slow our shotgun start was.
And that leads us right into From the Rough. We haven't done this segment in the last 2, 3 episodes, but why don't we just go right into it? You're gonna read my tweets and I'll read yours.
Ooh, can I read the first one?
Yes.
I can't believe that they didn't put my screen name on here. Nova 851618. So basically a euphemism for I don't have the guts to put my name on anything. But it says Su-Ann might be the worst person at her job on the planet,
On
which
the
is
planet, though.
impossible. It's a big fucking planet.
It is a big planet, a huge planet. And I mean,
I read
look,
that.
I can think of maybe one person that might be worse than me. I'm thriving at the bottom of the pylon in terms of like presenters and sports announcers. I'm at the bottom.
Look,
I
you
get it.
can
I admit it.
aim.
All good.
Look how long I've been doing this. I strove for mediocrity during my playing and broadcasting career, and I'm still doing it. So I mean, it's mediocrity gets rewarded. You know, you don't step on anybody's toes. Everybody feels better than you, so they never are worried about you coming and taking their job. Yeah, mediocrity is a fantastic thing.
I guess so. It pays to be
But
below average. But
Nova
I appreciate the kind words. Look,
Nova 569182, go fuck yourself. You have no idea what you're talking about. She's the loveliest young lady with whom I've ever worked, and she has grown into the job to be an absolute world-class presenter, as you say. So go fuck yourself,
thank
Nova.
you. Oh, well, thank
Yeah,
you. Thanks for coming to my rescue. I appreciate it. Okay,
yeah.
my turn. Now, who's this?
Still can't think of who's worse.
Blitz Balkak
Blitz
619.
Ballsack.
This is on Instagram. What's Jerry's walk-up song would be? Question mark. Something
That's easy. We did
country.
it
It's gotta be
before
something
during one.
country.
Yeah, it's Pat Green, a legend in Texas, country artist in Texas. And when Golf Channel, what is it, 18 years ago, first got the PGA Tour contract for the Thursday, Friday coverage, it was what they have for Carrie Underwood now in Monday Night Football or
Hmm.
Sunday Night Football. I don't know which one she's on. As it was the anthem of the every one of our broadcasts that year, and it was Pat Green feels just like it should.
Yeah, that's what we have in our talkbacks. Right before
No,
we
that's Pat
is it
Green.
different
That's Pat
song?
Green, but yeah,
Dun, dun,
that's
dun,
different.
dun,
One of his
dun,
other
dun,
hits.
dun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great song. I love it. It gets stuck in my head all the time now.
What would your walk-up
It's
song be?
it'll probably be I would think something from Queen. Like something real like gets you like
Bohemian
going a little
Rhapsody?
bit. No. Oh, maybe.
Ah,
Maybe,
Fat Bottom
maybe.
Girls?
No, what is it?
Sorry, that was rude.
I mean, first, I'm the worst person at my job on the
Fat
planet,
bottom girls, you
and now
make
you're
the
calling me a
rock and
fat
world
bottom
go
girl.
round.
Life
Fat
is
bottom
good.
girls,
Life is good.
rock and world
Okay,
go round.
so
Let me read that. Hang on. The next one is Johnny Parker 9928. At least he got his name on it, if it happens to be the name. Might be Johnny Walker. Yep, she's drunk. Laughing smiley face emoji, which was in reference to one of our episodes recording from the morning in Singapore.
that is not likely. No.
It could have
First of
been from the
all,
night before.
let's just say
Secondhand drunk.
I've never been drunk on the show. I get this a lot actually when I see people in real life during events and they not sure why, but come up to either you or I to tell us that they enjoy the podcast. Um, but then they're
So they're
all
drunk.
they must be drunk or they
Yes.
must be listening to the wrong podcast. But they would
Yeah.
come up to me and like, do you do you drink a lot on that podcast? Like, are you often like a little buzzed when you do the podcast? I'm like, no, I've drank on maybe 3 of our episodes, maybe 4, right?
Mhm.
Never drunk. And I don't know. I mean, I'm just a very like I'm the same person when I drink. I might get like a little more silly, but pretty similar.
Yeah. Well, I
When do you
live by
drink?
very few life covenants, if you will. But one
Mm.
of them, and I'll die by it. But a drunk man's words, a drunk person's words, are a sober person's thoughts. So, if someone is a bad drunk, they're really an asshole in disguise. But if someone is a funny, loving drunk, not I'm not saying drunk, but when they get buzzed and they get more funny and they get more loving and they get more entertaining, that's who they are underneath, and that's who you are. You are a fun drinker,
Oh,
not a shitbag
I
drinker.
get very
And
huggy. I like hugging people, and I get very
uh,
like, you know, s- I like hugging people when I
nobody
drink too much.
nobody doesn't like a hug. Nobody doesn't
Yeah, I
like a
know.
hug
I give free
unless you're
hugs at that point when I drink too much.
yeah
It's
yeah I
like,
know, get you in all kinds of trouble. They can be
uh,
misinterpreted.
I know. But just to be clear, I've never been drunk on an episode. Should be.
Hmm.
I should
I
be.
think
I
I'm
think it
wondering if
would
I have.
be awesome.
I don't think no. I
I
can't. I don't know what.
I don't
I never get drunk. That's the problem.
no, 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 no. I've
When have you
no.
seen me? When have you seen me drunk? When? Name it.
I will say it's not often, but a handful of
When?
times because we we
No, no
we
way.
we have no fun on the road. So,
No, I don't remember ever not remembering what I said the next day. Well,
I
maybe I did.
you don't change though. You don't, but you can tell
Ah,
you're like just
I'm
tipsy.
I'm I'm even less guarded as to what I say to people than I am in my
Correct.
day-to-day life, which is still
Correct.
pretty damn
No, you're not that
uncouth.
different. You're not that different. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Okay, this one I love. This was last week, after the internet, after the Live Golf promotions event from our friends at Flushing on X.
Oh, Tom, yeah.
Shout out to Jerry Foltz, by the way. He's been an analyst on the Live broadcast all year, then was on course reporting last week at the Saudi International, and now he's calling the play-by-play at Live Promotions. How's that for versatility? I 100% agree with that. I think I can't agree more. You are like probably one of the most talented people I know, but hang tight. Don't let your head swell because it will keep swelling as I carry on. The best part about that was a reply to that tweet by Anthony Kim giving you props on how good you are as an analyst. That must have been cool. I'm sure you read it. Don't act like you fucking didn't read it. You read it.
Well, James forwarded it to me. The reply that actually stated it most accurately was the guy who said, "So you're saying he actually did his job? It's my job, and I am thrilled that they let me try different things. I did play by play for 7 years on the Corn Ferry Tour and a fair bit on the PGA Tour. I did God knows how many years of on-course commentary, and I miss it desperately. And I did a little bit of analyst before, and I was never hired to be an analyst at Live, but that's the way it just kind of shook out, and and everybody seems to have liked it. So I'm just doing my job. I'm a talking head. I'm an overpaid prima donna talking head. The fact that fooled enough people that think I'm good at it is absolutely baffling. So yeah, it's just enjoying the ride, Sue-Ann. The same ride you're on right now as your career skyrocketing.
Well, as your sister puts it, Jerry can fall into a pile of shit and come out smelling like roses.
Hmm. Yeah,
I gotta love
it's a
your
curse.
sister, man.
Yeah,
But no, you don't give yourself enough credit. And this is not me blowing smoke up your ass. You are so good at what you do, and just not many
thank you,
people can do all those
thank you.
things and all those
Nobody gets the
things really
chance.
well. It's really cool.
Nobody
It
gets the
is really
chance to do
cool.
them.
You should give
A
yourself a
lot of
little
people
pat on the
do.
back. We got one more, and that's for you to read because I don't like reading this one.
Da, da,
Oh,
da.
it's from our friend Bert Larson's
Wait.
wife.
Oh, Tamara Larson, 1263 on YouTube. Sue-Ann, I love your tattoos. The heart on your shoulder is my favorite, and it was the inspiration for the location of my last tattoo.
Mm,
Voila. Yeah. First of all, Tamara's like the coolest
yeah,
tour wife, if you will.
yeah.
She's the wife of a guy who runs all of he's the vice president of something, but he does all the spotting and scoring, all of the official information that makes its way to our fans and to us. That's Robert Larson, just goes by Bert. Um, she's just so damn cool. So that's really neat. You
That is
inspired her
really
to get
cool.
a
More
tattoo,
tattoos.
more tattoos.
Yes.
I bet she doesn't have as many as you.
Have you seen Bert has a few. Bert
Does
has
he?
like, yeah, oh, a few. Oh, absolutely. And he's got like really cute and quirky ones. And it all has a story to it, which is really cool. Yeah, ask him next
Hmm.
time. I'm pretty sure he's got more than I do.
Yeah.
I don't have that many. There's tiny. They're
He
like small.
he raised the greatest question last week while we were eating, because as you know, the beef in Saudi Arabia was some of the best I've ever had. And I've been to a lot of, nice beef restaurants. And he said, you know what? Normally, when we're on our ride back to the hotel or to the airport or something, basically everywhere we go, you see a couple areas where there's cattle farms. Where the hell are the cattle farms in Saudi Arabia? The fact is, there aren't any.
I know.
So
Oh,
it's like he made you think, like, where does this meat come from? As it turns out, their beef is imported from Australia, and it's so
yeah.
good,
It is so
so
good.
good.
We get Aussie beef here too. It's the ones
Yeah,
that I personally buy. They just
yeah,
always have the most flavor. It's
that's
so
so good.
good.
Oh,
Yeah, the beef
yeah,
was actually the food there was so good in
it
Saudi.
was outstanding. It
Oh,
was
the
outstanding, and I
Lebanese
mean, it was
food
our
was so good.
yeah. That was in the hotel, the Lebanese restaurant. We went to a fancy sushi place, and it was fantastic. One night, that was the only fancy place we went, but so many of the people that were there for the first time in Riyadh, and they were all raving about the restaurant scene and the food scene. And there is a perception of what life is like in Saudi Arabia based on media outlets, based on propaganda, based on all these things anti-Saudi. Everybody who went there is like, holy shit, this is like a cosmopolitan city. Granted, there's no alcohol, but it's a cosmopolitan city. They had their music festival with 100,000 people the first night, and it was multiple nights, and that was headlined by Eminem and Linkin Park. 201 musical acts, over 100,000 people having a great time, listening to music, various forms of cultural dress. That's their culture. They dress
Yeah,
to their cultural and religious beliefs, but having a good time and clean, well-behaved partying, if you will.
I know.
And one American who visited, who'd never been to Saudi Arabia before, who played in the promotions event, he goes, God, I wish I could tell people at home what I experienced here in my time in Saudi Arabia, because they don't want to believe it. They absolutely do not want to believe it. So I think they're going to go a long way towards increasing tourism in future years,
Yeah.
because the secret, you can't keep that, the naysayers can't keep that a secret for too long. It's really a kind of for me, a cool place to visit. Very cool.
Yeah,
It'd be much more cool if they could sell alcohol, at least in the hotels or something. Maybe eventually they will, but yeah.
Yeah, I got to the one night that I went out to a fancy Japanese restaurant called Kuru. Quick shout out to them because the food was literally
Well, yeah.
amazing. It was
And Kristen said it
mind
was the best she's
blowing.
ever had.
I would say it's like my
And she's
top
not a spring chicken.
five. I would say like I would consider myself, I hate saying this, but I am a bit of a sushi snob, right? Like I love
Yeah.
just being born and raised Asian and getting kind of the being able to travel. I've been to Tokyo a couple of times, had the best sushi I've had there. And I'm always in the hunt for great sushi. And here I am in Saudi Arabia, in Riyadh, in the financial district, in a place that's meant to be Peruvian fusion with Japanese, which you would think, really?
Yeah.
Okay, but I'll try because a couple of our colleagues went and they were raving about it. And I'm like, I have to go. If there's good sushi, I'm there. I
Yeah.
went there and I would say it's my top five favorite Japanese or sushi restaurants I've ever had. It was just so
Yeah.
good. And as you said, it's cosmopolitan. I got in right in the heart of the financial district. And you would have thought you were in like just in that little like parameter that we're in, you would have thought you could be in like LA. It was just tall buildings. It was cold that night. It got down to like 65 or 62 or something that evening. And people were speaking English. There were cars, there were valet. It just felt like you could have been in LA, just
Yeah.
at a Japanese
Totally feel
restaurant,
that.
you know?
Totally felt like that where we
Yeah.
went to. This
Especially
we
with
went.
the weather. I think the weather makes it feel that way.
And it was
Yeah.
chilly in the
It was
evening. It was
cold,
chilly in
man. It
Saudi
was
Arabia. Yeah, who would
cold.
have thought? Well, you're a
Yeah.
sushi snob. I'm a pizza snob, and as great as those restaurants were with their sushi, they got a lot of work to do on their pizza. I think I need to go down and hold some pizza making classes. I really do. Yeah.
What makes a good pie? What makes a good pizza?
Dough first, sauce second. The rest is done. The rest you can do whatever you want with. But the dough first,
Yeah.
and two types of dough, a Neapolitan or a New York. Or you can go deep dish, which a lot of people in the Midwest will tell me is the best pizza, and it's good. But dough first, and the sauce, the quality of the
Yeah.
sauce. The differences in sauce is very, very subtle.
So subtle. It's about
Yeah.
seasoning. So often
Yep.
they're not seasoned and it just completely flattens the dish
Yeah.
because
Well,
then
and
the brightness
ingredients.
of the dish doesn't come out,
Yeah.
the taste of the dough doesn't quite shine. The
Right.
sauce is so important. God, I love a
Yeah.
good pizza.
Yeah. And thirdly, temperature of the oven. It has to
Yes.
get to 800 or 900 degrees, or
The
it's
crust
just
has
not
to be
properly
crispy.
cooked.
It's got to be a little, it's got to have a little
Not
crunch and chew to it.
on the top. Yeah, Neapolitan only has a little crunch on the big bubbly crust layer.
Yeah.
It's usually not very. It's very floppy. New York pizza, you should be able to take a slice and not have it flop if it's cooked properly at the right temperature. But yeah, yeah, that's
You should be
crunchy all through.
familiar with flopping. Anywho,
Really,
um,
I am old.
that leads us to our final segment, forecast. Um, we got our producers to write up a whole list of topics for us to talk about, but this one is a question that I'm sure a lot of people are thinking about. Will Anthony Kim be a wild card again, or is
Yeah,
he going to get picked up by a team?
the answer to both of those is yes. He's
Okay.
either going to be a wild card or picked up by a team. We've heard rumors of him getting picked up. How many? What are there? Four teams, I think, that still have a spot. Uh,
Yeah, so we got the
yeah.
Cliques, we've got Legion, Fireballs, Range Goats.
What about four aces? Oh no, four aces are
Aces
full,
are,
right? Yeah,
yeah, they're full.
range
Yeah.
goats, and I don't know if all of the Rippers have been signed yet. I don't know if all Smash have been
Yes.
signed yet. I think
Yeah.
they're all done, but I'm not positive. So, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
um, we'll hear when the deals are done is when we hear.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think he'll be a free agent, a wild card, but I wouldn't put it past. Well, the team I thought that probably would take him is now full when they added Thomas Peters, and that's the four
Yeah.
aces. I thought Dustin would pick him to join the team. I don't know. He came a long ways last year and played some good golf, but didn't put the finishes together for a team to say we really want Anthony Kim because we think this year he's going to play like Anthony Kim did 13 years ago. He wasn't
Mm-hmm.
quite there yet, but he was a hell of a lot closer at the end of the year than at the beginning of the year. And I think
Yeah.
that tour as this season progresses, we'll see Anthony Kim in contention uh, for a chance to for some really high finishes. Not every single time. That's impossible to think. But he has, I don't know anybody who's ever worked harder. There's not a
Yeah.
person in that league working harder than Anthony Kim today while we speak.
Let me ask you a question. One of the things that you and I and all of us broadcasters and inside the ropes have heard from these players is being on a team um, has made them better, right? Better
Yeah.
as a player, better at practicing, more efficient. They got more support. It's not as lonely. All kinds of reasons why a team is great, right?
Yeah.
Even the guys who were on the promotions event last week in the field, they talked a lot about it and how it had opened their eyes into how that could be a really positive effect, uh, have really positive effect on a player. Let me ask you this though. Do you think it will have a positive impact on someone like AK? I mean, we watched him at the Ryder Cup, right?
Yeah.
He's obviously
Yeah.
pretty good in college.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I wonder if he had that kind of like team locker room atmosphere and like I mean he's already got obviously a lot of support. I think a lot of people are very supportive of him coming back and doing what he's doing and the courage to take that step and expose himself, right?
Yeah.
To maybe the not reaching his full potential of golf yet. But do you think that that would have a really good impact on his game and kind of accelerate the process?
Yeah, but but not for the reasons you say. I mean, right now he's playing for himself, for validation of taking this chance that he didn't need to take, of proving to his daughter Bella that you know, hard work pays off. And, your dad wasn't always just a stay-at-home dad. He used to do something, and I'm going to show you I can do it again and make you proud to be my daughter, which I'm sure she will be no matter if he succeeds or fails. Um, but I think the extra pressure of dependency, of those three guys depending on you, would bring out Anthony's best. I absolutely think he's grinding hard. He's doing it for personal reasons now. He wants to prove to himself and to all the haters out there, but mostly to himself, that he can do what he set out to do. But you put three guys who are world-class players behind him, who are encouraging him, and he knows that every single shot he hits is a reflection on that team. I think that pressure, that motivation will bring out his best golf quicker than not being on a team.
Yeah,
personally.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree personally too. In my humble 2 cents opinion.
But you're the worst at your job on the planet.
I am the worst at my job,
count.
so it shouldn't fucking matter.
What's next one?
Anyways, Chikara, yes,
Chikara.
he
Who are the
has left the
Fireballs going
Fireballs
after?
GC. He did not participate in the promotions event. He talked about it quite publicly about perhaps getting a more direct pathway into the majors. So who will replace him? I have a few ideas.
I do too. I'm not sure. It doesn't seem like he left on the greatest terms. I'm not sure how popular he was with the teammates and the other players in the league. So I don't know. I think his LIV career is probably done for now, but time will tell. That chapter hasn't been written yet. I talked to Sergio in the Riyadh airport when I first landed for the PIF Saudi International. We were on the same flight from Dubai, and different cabins. We were in different cabins.
Sure.
Just so you know. Yeah. He was in the really, really fancy seats, and mine was awfully nice too. But nonetheless, I said, who you looking at? He goes, well, if we get the guy we want, it'll be great for our team and great for the league. I go, care to share anymore? He goes, can't share anymore right now. So they're in discussions with somebody. I am led to believe, not by Sergio, that it's a young player, a very young player. I don't have any basis for that, but it makes the most sense looking at the pool of Latin influence players available that might be convinced to come join LIV. I think Rom's headed in that same general direction, but I'm not positive about that. Their camp's been very quiet. Very
quiet. I mean, they just released a big thank you to Kieran Vincent for his efforts during the season. Obviously, Kieran did not make it through the promotions event, so he is officially relegated. He will not be on the LIV Golf League next year. He could very well fight his way back onto the league. But what I'm surprised with John Rahm's team, the Legion 13, is that whether they tried or not, I'm not sure, but they don't have David Puig on that team because David and Rahm are really good friends. They practice together. Obviously David has serious game.
Right. But Rahm doesn't have anything to give them. To get Puig is on Sergius. Is it Torquay or Fireball?
No, Fireball.
Yeah. I always get him and Ortiz mixed up in person too. They look the same. But Rahm doesn't have anything to give them because they're going to keep a Latin influence on those two teams. That tribal kind of rooting interest for those two teams. So you can't give him Surratt in a trade because he doesn't want to. Number one, because Surratt's going to be. I mean, he is world class already, and he's got a really good chance to be a world beater.
Definitely not Terrell.
Caleb does. Nobody's getting rid of Terrell. Do everything you can to keep him because he's just a mainstay on the top of the leaderboard. So it would have to be buying his rights away from Fireballs. And I don't see Sergio like saying, okay, this is going to be cheap or we'll give you a good deal. Hell no. Puig is a stud. He's an absolute stud.
Yeah. And he's just going to keep getting better too, which is scary.
Yeah.
Exactly. There are, I mean, just even in our promotions field last week, some really good, talented Spanish kids who played. Who is it? Luis Masaveo.
Maceveo, yeah.
Luis Maceveo.
Luis Maceveo, yeah.
And who is it? Borja?
The oh yeah,
Borja Verto?
Virtor Borja. Yeah, I love saying
Yeah.
that name.
You
Yeah.
gotta roll your tongue when you say it.
Yeah, and who's the kid, the young guy from Mexico who everybody you hear rumored about all the time. I can't remember his name. It's like four names. De La Puente or something.
Oh
Um
yeah, Santiago
so-
de la Fuente.
yeah, yeah, I think the move, the cunning move would be Rom if Sergio's looking at him, or if that's not the guy Sergio's interested in, if it's one of the other names you mentioned or somebody else off our radar, Rom going in and sweeping the guy off his feet and then trading him for Pooch, and then everybody gets what they want. Mm. Hmm. And when we say the captains are involved in this, but those teams now have organizations that are a lot more sophisticated and a lot more business savvy than a bunch of guys who've chased a white ball around a field their whole life. So they're relying on all that behind the scenes business making from their GMs, from the staff they've assembled, and are continuing to grow with some pretty top quality level executives.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what's going to happen in the new year. I can't wait.
Yeah.
I can't wait for some of the locations we're going to as well. More yet to be announced as well. So it's gonna be a great 2025. I feel like
Yeah.
it's heading in a very positive direction.
I think
It's
so.
optimistic.
I think
Speaking of teams and trades, make sure you stay tuned for our next episode, which is our Christmas episode, because we're gonna have Captain of Ironheads joining us on the pod, Kevin Na, who's going to be spilling the beans on Yubin Jang and how he got him and what was the whole conversation and process, but also updates on the Ironheads and what's been going on with them, what they can look forward to in 2025. I tell you what, with Yubin Jang on Ironheads and going to Seoul,
the kid as a rookie, what is he? He's like 14 years old, right? How old is he?
it's like
He's like 20,
20,
22 or
21.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, 21, 22. His rookie season, he's player of the year on the Korean tour. He wins basically everything, or top tens everything.
Yeah.
Everybody, Dom especially, is the guy's biggest cheerleader, but everybody who has seen him play on international series in Korea, all throughout Asia, says this kid is the real deal. Now, it's easy to get involved in hyperbolic promotion of a young phenom talent. On the radio yesterday, I heard where this kid turned pro at 17. Blades
Oh yeah. Yeah, I
Brown
did
or
see that.
something. Yeah,
Yeah.
Blades. He turned pro at 17, and they're talking about how it worked for Akshay Bhatia, and he's not looking back now. He's a PGA Tour winner. John McGinnis actually brought up, yeah, but there was a guy back when he was playing the tour named Ty Tryon who got his PGA Tour card as a 17-year-old through Q School. And he never really materialized into being his talent. So it's always dangerous to put that label on that, but there doesn't seem to be any caution in everybody who's talking about him in those extremely reverent terms, his quality of player. So this kid, they say, is the real deal.
Yeah. Plus, for those of you who might not know, kind of Korea and its sort of rules, men have to do military service unless you win a gold medal at the
Pan Am Games,
Olympics,
Olympic Games, Panolympics.
Asian
There's four or five
Games.
different ones. Asian
Yeah,
Games, yeah,
which
and he
he
did.
medaled. Yep, at the Asian
Was
Games, so
part of the
he's
team,
exempt,
right?
which is
Yeah,
huge. It's
huge.
huge. Yeah,
Yes.
because so many out of Korea just come in
Soon
so
you'll
hot and
know.
then they have to go right into military and they
Yeah,
just never
yeah,
quite come back because
yeah.
2 years is a
No,
long time, especially
it's a
when
long
you
time.
have to strike while the iron's hot, and
Yeah,
Yubin is has already struck and will
yeah,
continue striking. So
yeah,
yeah, so stay tuned for the episode. Really excited to talk to Kevin and catch up with him and see what he's doing, man. What's he doing in the off
yeah.
season? So it
He's
should
in
be good.
Vegas.
I wanted to do a quick shout out, which I'm sure you would too, Foltzy, the man who makes us sound so smart for the last 3 seasons. The promotions event was officially his last event behind the scenes with us. It's our very own Mike Perky, who does all the research for us. He puts together stats, he puts together everything so that we can have information at the tips of our fingers. And
Yeah.
It was a last show last week, and I just wanted to give him a quick shout out. Thank you so much, Mike Perky, for everything you've done for us, for the broadcast, the information you bring, the perspective, your energy, your joy, your company. It was, we'll miss you. We'll miss you. We'll
You
miss
know
him
what?
so much.
More than all of his professional attributes, he's as top quality of a human being as you can ever get. And, we're all friends, we all get along, but there are certain subjects you just don't talk about with your friends. He was the ear that not only I, but many people could lean on when you're going
Yeah.
through something, whether it's emotionally or physically or what have you. And he was always there for you. And he's,
Mhm.
you can measure your friends on like they say, the ones who are going to help you bury the bodies. I like to say if I went through my Rolodex of guys I consider friends and called them up and said, hey, I need this amount of money and I need you to bring it to me and I need it at 10 a.m.
Now.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yes, the question everybody's going to ask is why? What did you do? But the real friends are like, okay, I'll be there.
Yeah.
Perky's one of those guys. He would be
Yeah.
there for you at any given time.
Yeah.
And I know I'm not the only one who feels that way about him. He's got a whole list of people who he would do
Yeah.
that for, and that's the quality of person he is. So we hope he
Yeah.
enjoys his retirement, being a full-time granddad, and playing as much golf as he can, even though he shares my frustration that the ball just doesn't go that far anymore.
Go to the higher altitude places, Perky. Playing like the desert heat and like super hard grounds, and you just take the biggest first bounce and just like
Yeah,
makes you feel better about golf. But yeah, we'll miss him. We'll miss him so much. But
yeah,
he's gonna have such a great time spending time with his grandchild and being home and not traveling as much and
yeah,
spending time with family and loved ones. Can't blame him
yeah.
for that. So thank you so much for all you do, and we'll miss you. Anywho, on that note, that brings us to the end of this week's episode of Fairway to Heaven. Thank you so much once again for joining us and listening all the way through to the very end. I'm sure you press skip a few times, forward, fast forward, fast forward, fast forward. I don't really care. Fast forward, fast forward. But nonetheless, we appreciate you for choosing us. And if you like our podcast, please do share with your friends. We're on the LIV Golf YouTube page under Fairway to Heaven. You can find all the episodes that we've done previously on there. Plenty of great players, great archive in terms of guests. So you can pick and choose what you like. We also have our very own social channels at FTH_LIV Golf. We're on the X. We're on TikTok, and we're on Instagram. So do follow us there and do share with your friends. You can find us wherever you get your podcast, whether that's Apple Music or Spotify or wherever you consume your podcast. Pleasure as always, Volty. It is mine.
Enjoyed it. Wow,
Um,
we didn't even have a guest and we gas bagged for what, 80 minutes?
that's
Holy shit.
why we're talking heads. That's why we're talking
Wow.
heads.
Wow. 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 All right.
Yes, we'll look forward to the next episode and we'll see you next time.